We know there are many choices in internet radio, and the staff and host of LA Talk Live would like to thank you for choosing the internet's hottest destination for the most eclectic sound and invigorating talk. This is LA Talk Live. We are more than just talk.
Hi everybody, and welcome to the Book Beat. I'm Jean-Noel Bassior. That bumper music, by the way, is written by my brother, Rick Fleischman, who did a great job. We got a great show planned for you today. In our first segment, we're going to have Regina Lark, and Dr. Regina Lark, and she is a wonderful organizer. She specializes in hoarding and also organizing for ADHD, right, people. And I know her services. I have tried them. I have to tell you, they're, full disclosure here, they're wonderful. And she's written a great book called Psychic Debris, Crowded Closets, the relationship between the stuff in your head and what's under your bed. So think about that, and she'll put it together for you in a few minutes. I want to talk a little bit first, as we always do when we open the show, about an aspect of the book business, what's happening. And if you're listening to this show because you'd like to write your own book, I've got some good news for you, actually. Publishing stats came out this week in the New York Times, and this was a survey that was done in 2012. And publishing is falling apart in one sense because there is so much self-publishing going on. But some of these statistics were absolutely amazing to me. If this is true, and I guess unless I just didn't copy it right or something, but would you believe that brick and mortar stores are still making slightly more than Amazon? That's unbelievable, isn't it? Now these statistics were compiled by the Association of American Publishers and the Book Industry Study Group, which are two very reputable organizations. So even though I know, because I come from mainstream, I know that mainstream is falling apart in many ways because so many people are opting to self-publish, but mainstream publishing is still going pretty strong. Fiction in audio and ebooks. Now remember, mainstream is now doing ebooks, and they're doing a lot more audiobooks too because people are accessing them on all their devices. But those were up 42% in 2012. Nonfiction was up. That's fiction. Nonfiction was up 22%. Now these, the total amounts here are pretty staggering. Brick and mortar stores, according to these statistics, actually, even though they dropped 7%, guess what? They still took in $7.5 billion. That's not bad. And Amazon now increased 21% to $6.9 billion. See, still slightly behind brick and mortar, but if Amazon increases 20% a year and brick and mortar is dropping by 7%, this year, next year, that's going to be the big turnaround. But I was surprised that this is still so good. It's kind of heartening to know that traditional publishing is still kind of holding its own. I like that. I like that there's both options available now. And next week we're going to talk more about this, but some other news in the publishing industry was that some folks are getting a little bit upset by some of the PODs, including Hay House's POD, Balboa Press, spamming them. You go to Balboa Press, you go to Hay House, and you click on that, and you will be seeing Hay House in every restaurant that you Google and every piece of information that you research. Hay House is going to pop up, or Balboa Press. And there's enough folks that are kind of miffed by this so that there may be actually a class action lawsuit coming up against Author House and some of these other big PODs. So I'll tell you a little bit more about that next week because a guy named Mick Rooney blogged about it, and he had pretty good information about the research that's being done about possible lawsuits, class action lawsuits coming up. And a lot of that also is because the PODs, or the print-on-demand houses, they offer a lot of packages that are pretty expensive. And a lot of times they don't deliver when it comes to publicity. So we'll talk more about that next week. But Regina, we have Dr. Regina Lark with us. And so hold up your book. And the title is
Psychic Debris, Crowded Closets, the relationship between the stuff in your head and what's under your bed.
And what is that relationship?
Oh, okay. So it's not scientifically proven, but I often go into people's spaces where I hear them talk about lack in their life, things that they're not able to latch onto, things that they're going toward. They don't have enough money. Their clothes don't fit right. They feel empty inside, and their stuff reflects what they're talking about.
How so?
I've come across a lot of homes where there are dozens and dozens of empty picture frames, empty purses.
Wow.
And like I said, this is not scientific, but it reflects an emptiness in their life. And so items tend to
reflect
or match what's going on in their heart and head. Not all the time, not across the board, but often enough to prompt the book.
So you've been on the TV show Hoarders, right? On A&E, yeah. So, I mean, you're like one of these people that really, and I've seen you work, you really just go in there, right? And you just sort of, you really get your hands dirty. You do the heavy lifting.
I do.
Yeah, you do. So what about folks who are just cluttering? They can't let go of stuff?
Yeah.
How do you let go of stuff? Like, what's the biggest reason or obstacle you find, like, people can't let go of the stuff they're keeping?
That's a great question. There's two things going on, and it's kind of a visual, so can't really act it out. This is what I notice. People have their hand behind them. Somebody gave it to them. It has meaning. It's emotional. It's sentimental. They can't let it go because it just has a special place in their heart. And then people have their hand in front of them, and they want it because they may need it someday. And so while one hand is out front that they need it, and one hand is behind them that it's something to save because it brought meaning into their life. What I notice is that most people are not present to their present. And so they're holding on for emotional reason, and they're holding on for something that may or may not ever happen, which is fine to hold on to it. But if it's creating havoc in your life, if you're always moving it to get to something else because it's in the way, then I encourage people to start thinking differently about these items.
Well, that was one of the great rules that was in your book. I noticed you said if you've got an object and there's like it's in some place it shouldn't be, then you don't need it probably, right? If you're constantly tripping over it on the floor
Yeah, I know. I mean, I think a lot of people don't question why stuff is in their space. They don't tend to reevaluate things that come into their life. I'll sit on the floor with somebody and we'll reach under the bed and we'll pull out a box, and the box may be filled with past loves or something sad or sentimental, and they aren't giving themselves permission to let it go.
Let it go. Now, from what you said before, it sounded to me like they're either living in the past or the future. So does that prevent them from experience, like doing what they want to do now? Does that sort of?
Well, I think clutter prevents people from doing the things they want to do. Countless friends over many years said, I can't go out with you this weekend, I have to get organized. And it tells me that most people are in service to their stuff instead of their stuff being in service to them. A lot of people feel very unable to think clearly, move forward, on things that are important to them. And as a result, they keep holding themselves back. Most people don't really question, what does it mean to have enough? Why is this in my life? I know that a lot of stuff is in our life because of really fantastic marketing, and we are a consumerist society. I think there's also a lot of loneliness and depression. So I tend to believe that people acquire to make themselves feel better. But what I would do is I walk into people's homes and I see a lot of broken promises, shattered dreams. I mean, I don't mean to make it sound so dramatic, but people are spending a lot of money on stuff that did not work on what they thought they were buying it for.
Especially that organizing equipment, right? That
oh my goodness,
stuff.
I know. I declutter a lot of people of books they bought to how to unclutter themselves.
Right, and how about the Container Store? I mean, it's a great place. I love it, but I usually would find that a year later, it's like I wasn't using what I bought at the Container Store the previous year, so I'd have to go back and go like, is there a new system?
Right,
but then that doesn't work either, right? At least for me.
And I think a lot of people, they buy the things that are going to keep them organized without having started the work of decluttering.
Right, because why do you want to organize this stuff and just keep shuffling it around, right? New formations?
Yeah.
So you help people let go then, right?
Yeah, it's a process. We let go and let Regina.
Oh, that's good. And I know you work with ADHD. What's that like? And why do you like to do that?
I got into the world of working with people with what we call chronic disorganization. And there's a segment of the population that were born with a brain type that's never allowed them to get their stuff together.
That's me.
Right. I didn't want to out you on the show, Jean-Noel, but yes, it is you.
I just stepped out of the closet.
And so there's people that have born with a brain type that can't get their stuff together, and as a result, everything's a mess. Every surface is covered. Grocery shopping doesn't happen on a regular basis. You can't find your keys. There's mail everywhere, open and unopened. And a lot of the people that I work with that are in this very confused state in the home, in their working lives, their professional lives, brilliant, educated, super smart, social, musical, very artistic and creative, and they'd rather do anything than hang something up. I mean, putting something, taking it off their body and putting it on a hanger. It's not that it's too much work. They have no interest. They're often doing something else.
Something
and
creative,
so the people that I work with ADHD, it's all about finding creative solutions to meeting their declutter and organizing goals. What I'm very clear about is that it's not my brain type that I'm organizing for. It's my client. And it's about communicating and finding out what that person needs, what that person believes they need to have a clear space. My clear space is probably very different from your clear space.
And I'm not at that point yet, just to clarify, as you know. My problem is letting go of old papers and files, and also, which I think another problem that I think a lot of people have is sometimes if I don't see it out on my desk, I'm afraid I'm going to forget about it.
Right.
So I've never been able to find an organizational system that works for all that stuff that keeps breeding on my desk. Papers do breed. I mean, you've probably noticed that if you leave them alone, you've got 100.
They multiply.
They do multiply.
Yeah, they do.
So do you have any suggestions for that?
Yes, of course I do. One suggestion is start becoming really aware of paper that's coming in to staunch the flow as much as you can. I'm a very trusting person. I believe that where I do my banking, that I will have an end-of-year statement. And so I don't get statements online. I get them in my email once a month. I pass them over to my bookkeeper because she is good at some things that I'm not good at. But But I stopped the flow of paper because having it come into my space was very inconvenient. Mm-hmm. On my website, I have a download called Paper, What to Keep and for How Long. And it's culled from legal and financial sources so that it sort of takes the guesswork out of what to keep and for how long. Most of us are paper heavy because we don't trust our memory, and we don't trust that what we need is known to us. So I believe that if we become much more aware of the flow and how it gets to us, if we stop at a recycle container before we bring our mail into our space, if we go through it before we lay it down on the table, laying it down on the table is often a decision to not make a decision about it.
It's always a bad decision to do that.
It generally is, because it will pile up.
It will. Yeah, because you'll never get to it because other things, come. And my goal is to go paperless. I mean, I want to go completely electronic. And I know, and that's the way, quote, kids are now. I mean, I've read about offices where there isn't a scrap of paper,
And I think that's possible. But I think when we hear about going paperless, we're not honoring a brain type that says, I am visual and I need paper around me.
And which is me,
So yes, we can go paperless, but I'm a visual person and I still use a day planner.
I noticed that.
I do.
You do, yeah. So what, for anybody listening who wants to take, like, say, a small step to getting rid of some of the clutter, what would you suggest? Where to start?
I would start by putting it on the calendar. Make a date with yourself and then get a friend to help you, because they probably have clutter too, and then you can reciprocate.
But they're a lot more dispassionate about your clutter, right?
Right.
That's why it's good to have a friend.
It's good to have a body buddy, a body double, somebody that can say, Jean-Noel, that never looked good on you anyway. Let it go, honey. We don't have necessarily trust in our own decision-making abilities. So I think a good place to start is to calendar it, get your friend to calendar it, and show up. Feed your friend pizza, bring out the wine or the soda and make a day of it. And then get on your friend's calendar to increase the likelihood for both of your success.
Okay. And if somebody knows somebody who has a real hoarding problem, what should they do?
Oh, well, that's a tough one.
I know.
Because people with a hoarding disorder tend to not see it as a problem. And there's a lot to say about that, and I know we don't have much time.
I'm just saying, in case anyone's listening, because, you read these horror stories in the newspaper about, they go into the house and they find the people under a pile of newspapers, and, and people are always going like, well, we should have done something,
Right.
Who should they call?
Well, they can call a professional organizer in their community, sure, like me. There's a National Association of Professional Organizers who can find you somebody with a specialty in hoarding disorder. The Institute for Challenging Disorganization, I know, who knew, but that's another really amazing resource. Usually work with a therapist, cognitive behavioral therapy, a professional organizer, and what I call the village, just a group of well-meaning friends and family members who wants to help.
So people around them should gather support and get it together. Now, what's the best way to get in touch with you? Tell us all the ways.
There are a variety of ways. My website is aclearpath.net.
Okay.
Email Regina at aclearpath.net. And then I'm all over Facebook. You can find me on Twitter. But those are two really great ways to find me.
Okay. And you teach at UCLA, don't you?
I actually teach at Los Angeles Pierce College.
Oh, okay.
I have a Ph.D. in history, even though I tell people the Ph.D. now stands for piled higher and deeper, because I'm very happy in a 40 cubic foot dumpster. I love teaching, and I love watching the light bulbs go off over my students' head.
I know you've got some very interesting classes, so
I do.
Yeah, people should go to your website and find out more about Regina, Dr. Regina Lark. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Jean-Noel.
Been a great guest. So stick around, because we have something a little bit different coming up in the second part of the show. We're going to have 3 guests in together, and they've each written books, but they like to be interviewed together. So my wonderful producer, Susan Levin, has done just that and booked them together. Let's hear it for Susan. She's just amazing. The show would not exist if it were not for her. She is the wind beneath my wings for this. So stay tuned, and we will be back with Susie Augustin, Kim Summers Egelsee, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, and Claudia Cooley. Stay tuned. This is the Book Beat on latalklive.com.
Your girl Paris, straight from the Cousins, and you can join us every Monday at 8 p.m. here live, bringing you some great entertainment for those ears, exclusively on latalklive.com. You can also catch us on iTunes Radio R&B or watch us on Ustream.tv. Reality radio, handcrafted for your listening pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk.
Hi, this is Starlet Quarles, and I'm inviting you to join us every Wednesday from 5 to 6 p.m. for a new show right here on LA Talk Live, The Dialogue, Real Talk, Real People. Join us as we discuss the topics that are relevant to today's generational leaders. So don't forget to tune in to The Dialogue, Real Talk, Real People, every Wednesday from 5 to 6 p.m. right here on latalklive.com. You can also catch us on iTunes Radio R&B, Live 365, Radio Flag, and now Stitcher Radio. Or watch and listen directly at latalklive.com. Reality radio, handcrafted for your listening pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk.
Hi, this is Dawn Christie, inviting you to join me every Friday, 1 p.m. Pacific, for my all-new show, The Dawn Christie Show. Join me as I discuss love, spiritual readings, your purpose, why am I born, what am I here to do. So don't forget to tune in The Dawn Christie Show at 1 p.m. Pacific, exclusively on LA Talk Live. You can also catch us on iTunes Radio R&B or watch us on Ustream TV, reality radio, handcrafted for your listening pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk.
Hi, and welcome back to the Book Beat. I'm Jean-Noel Bassior, and we are here with 3 in-studio guests who have all written books to improve your life. Now, there's so many self-help books around, and so I want you guys to sell me on your respective books, okay? Because we know that different approaches speak to different people. And so we have, next to me here is Claudia Cooley, right?
Yes.
You know what intrigued me about your bio? And he's here. You've been married for 50 years.
52 almost.
52 to the man of your dreams.
Yes.
And you wrote a book called, and of course I know this is an interesting title. I hope this didn't, well, From Dud to Stud.
Yes.
So, I mean, did you, now that implies that, is this for men or how to?
Yes, it
is.
Okay.
Yes,
it's for guys. Yeah.
Okay. So, That's really interesting, and we've got to find out about how you do that, how that transformation comes about. And then we have Susie Augustin?
Yes.
That's you. Augustin or Augustine?
Augustine.
Okay, without an E. Without an E on the end, okay. And you are a beauty expert, speaker, and author, and you wrote Sexy, Fit, and Fab at Any Age. Say yes to your natural beauty while being funny, healthy, sexy, and inspired.
Yes.
A title says it all. A subtitle, doesn't it?
Yes.
So we all want that. Okay. And then we have Kim Summers Egelsee. Is that?
Yeah.
Okay. And your book is Getting Your Life to a 10. And plus. A 10 plus, right. And I think you said that you're going to go through all the areas I'm going to ask you about this of your life, and they should be a 10, but then you want to get them to a 10 plus?
You can get them to a 10 plus if you so desire.
Okay, let's start out with you. So tell us about, you've got a rating system, right?
Well, it can be different for everyone.
Okay.
The rating system is the same, but basically what is important in your life. So for me, for example, I would do a list and say, okay, my important areas are spirituality, purpose and career, taking vacations and traveling, which would be social recreation, love relationships, friendships, connecting, different things like that. Like whatever is important to you, health and fitness, and then rating those areas. How happy and fulfilled am I in those areas? How balanced do I feel? And kind of giving them a general rating. Do I really feel like they're a 10? Am I super happy and fulfilled in that area? And I got to the point in my life where I am, and I started getting to areas where I'm like, you know what, I want to get those areas. Why not get them happier? And that's like an added bonus. It's like you can get to that point in your life where you're saying, I'm so happy in every area that now everything is like an extra bonus and adventure and
that's
something
the 10
amazing.
Plus, right?
And that's the 10 plus.
Huh.
And so I coach and speak with a lot of people that say, well, I have like 4 areas of my life that are important to me that are only at a 5 or a 6. And I highly suggest just taking one at a time and saying, okay, well, I'm going to do some small steps to improve that area. And usually when you do that, 2 other areas go up as well because it all falls into each other. It all correlates with one another.
So it's like a synergy kind of?
Yes, totally.
Huh.
Because you change your whole attitude about life and you start moving forward and getting rid of disempowering emotions and things like that.
Well, what made you want more? Because most people kind of are content to say, or many people are content to say, well, I've got 3 or 4 areas working pretty well, and then these others are just kind of so-so. But what made you say, like, you want more?
I feel like I had been in areas where I had been in places in my life where I really had hit bottom and was really in a disempowering position. And I actually talk about some of them on my recently released TEDx talk that's out.
Oh, you've been on TEDx?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It just came out on YouTube. But I talk about that, how I went from being disempowered to being in my full positive power. And
did you reach a low point?
Oh, yeah. I've had lots of low points in my life. And I enjoyed the process of really getting help, asking for help, and starting to truly work on myself, going to the seminars, reading the books.
What was the low point? Can you talk a little bit about it? Because a lot of times when we read self-help books, we go like, well, she looks pretty happy now, and she never probably was the way I feel, So what happened?
Well, I won't talk about the ones in the TEDx because that's already there.
Okay.
Those were ones that happened when I was a child and a teenager, and I really climbed out of them and got into my full positive power and was doing great. And then some certain things happened where my grandmother passed away, and she was like a second mom to me, and I just didn't have the coping skills, and I fell apart, and I started drinking and smoking pot and hanging around really negative people and being mean to my husband and going out all hours of the night and just really hit bottom. And I realized I was doing lots of different behaviors that I wasn't proud of. And I realized that it was because I wasn't filling my life with positive things. I was working and doing that. And I didn't have any volunteer work. I wasn't living my purpose. I wasn't reading positive books. I had kind of fallen off the wagon of personal development.
Did you know your purpose, or did you feel kind of lost?
I was somewhat in my purpose, but I didn't realize it was my purpose yet. Yeah. I
little glimmerings of it.
Yes,
kind of.
I had whispers of it. And so basically I climbed out of it because I got curious. What is happening to me? This isn't really me. And my husband luckily stuck with me and understood that I was going through something. And I think I was going through some sort of like a depression. And I took charge and I asked for help from a friend who was a counselor. I started reading books. I started writing in a journal to evaluate myself, almost stepping away from myself and looking in and going, okay, what can I do to fix this? And going to more and more seminars and watching DVDs and listening to CDs and reading Jim Rohn. And I really feel like that was the biggest thing that helped me climb back out of it, because it is almost like I fell off the wagon of working on myself. And that's what we all have to be careful of, because you do need to continuously be doing something to work on yourself, or else you can kind of fall back into bad habits.
So you found someone who inspired you, Jim Rohn, did you say?
He was definitely someone, and he had started inspiring me at age 18. And this that I'm talking about happened when I was 27. And now I'm almost 40. And I've stayed on the wagon of personal development now. and so that's what my book does. It has, Jim Rohn was a big inspiration for my book, along with Chris Widener. Their book 12 Pillars really inspired me, and I got blessed to have Chris Widener speak at my book launch. And I feel like that's why I wrote my book. I wanted people to have quick how-tos on getting their life better and climbing out of hardships and tragedies, and really getting their life on track with quick and simple tools that are down to earth that really work.
Great. Well, hold your book up so we can see it. Okay. And we're going to all be talking together, probably second segment of the show or eventually, but I want to just go through each of you separately so that you can, tell us a little bit. We can get familiar with you. So, Susie.
Hi.
Hi. And you say we can be sexy, fit, and fab at any age.
At any age.
So, the age thing, why did you tackle that one?
Well, I tackled that one because I have women of all ages talking to me, and since I've been in beauty for years, they talk to me about beauty. They talk, we also talk about inner beauty and just exuding confidence. And some women, sometimes they think that they hit a certain age and that's it. Or we go through a divorce. That's it. We're not sexy anymore.
Kind of hit the wall at different places.
We have a child. We're a mom now. We don't get to be sexy anymore.
I see.
And it's just so much more than just, like a look or what's like really obvious, like out in the media when they talk about sexy. It's just more. It's having that inner beauty, that confidence, that personality, and it just shines through you. And that's what sexy is.
So you've always been into natural beauty, though, right?
Yes.
What made you want to go into beauty?
Well, when I was 11, my mom started selling Avon. Now, I'm going to back up a little bit. My mom had 10 kids. I was the 9th.
Wow.
Yes. So my mom, every other year, she had another baby. And then when I was 11, she was 49, and she said, I'm going to sell this Avon. And it wasn't so much about selling it, but it was that she was going to these meetings with women every month. And I didn't know too much about it, but I was exposed to beauty. And having auburny reddish hair growing up, pale skin, freckles, I couldn't go out in the sun. And they didn't have sunless self-tanners. They didn't have the spray tans back then. So I was like first person in the 80s to start wearing sunscreen. And
wow.
I was the only one. I was the only one wearing that SPF.
Got a real celebrity here.
And then I just, I was exposed to makeup and skincare. So for me, it was more about taking care of the skin. And then as I got more into beauty, the same thing, talking to women. And it wasn't about, although I love makeup, it wasn't just always about wearing a lot of makeup, but what makes you feel good about yourself and having that everyday natural look.
So you saw a lot of women either hitting milestones or feeling kind of discouraged or almost ready to give up about their looks, kind of? Or
I've come across a lot of that, and sometimes they would migrate towards me because we could have a conversation. And, we would just talk, and then they would tell me, their interests. They would also tell me what they felt insecure about their looks and what they liked about their looks.
Oh, and this was through the Avon work?
Not through Avon. By then it was through professional skincare and beauty products. And then I was also worked with salons. Salons were my customers, and I got to know their customers.
I see.
So it was just a very hands-on.
So they started confiding in you about, how they really felt about their looks. And were you surprised by any of the things people told you?
Well, a lot of it, I think that at one time or another, a lot of us feel that way.
Mm-hmm.
And like I mentioned before with the media, these are some rough times on these young girls.
Oh, yeah.
So I not only speak to women that are older than me or my age, I'm starting to speak to younger girls too. And I wasn't expecting that. But as I start to talk to them, beautiful young girls, and they think they're too fat. Mm-hmm. They don't think that they're pretty enough. Mm-hmm. And they're beautiful.
Yeah, it's impossible to live up to all the images we have now, isn't it?
Yes.
Especially when people are like 30 pounds, under whatever the normal weight should be, right?
So exactly. It's hard. And the same thing too is embrace what your shape is. Mm-hmm. You might be naturally thin. Mm-hmm. You might be naturally athletic. You might be curvy. You might be very voluptuous. Mm-hmm. But just embrace your curves, dress for your figure. And you don't have to dress up every day, I don't feel. Mm-hmm. We have our own, we can be casual. Mm-hmm. We can be relaxed. But then when it matters, you want to spruce it up a little bit.
Right. Or maybe find your style for casual, sort of.
Exactly.
So that, because if I know like I have something casual that I know I look good in, then it's fine to be casual. I can just throw that on.
Yes.
So, yeah. Okay. So that's interesting. Let's go to Claudia. And turning duds into studs. Such a fascinating title. So how do we do that?
Well, this is what I call slightly or seriously lighthearted book.
Mm-hmm.
It's fun, and I used a car theme, a metaphor going through the book, and it really is about revving up for success. So it is dud to stud, revving up for success. Mm-hmm. And it really is about that some of the guys just don't know what their destination is yet. So kind of the dud comes from doesn't understand destination.
So what's your definition of a dud?
Doesn't understand destination.
Yeah.
It's, and it's really not about whether you're dud or not. It's every man is studly. But all of us, women and men alike, there's a piece of us that we think we're a dud, just like they were sharing.
Right.
And in that Dudsville that we allow ourselves to ride in, we can discover that we really have this uniqueness about us, that we really aren't dud.
But when you say doesn't understand their destination, tell me about that. What does that really mean?
Well, for me, what I'm always speaking to is about find your purpose, like we've all been talking about. Find your purpose. When you step into your purpose, it creates passion. And when you have those two together, it makes you powerful to make a difference in the world. So what are the things that are maybe in your way, or you have this big dream and you haven't been inspired enough to get there? So how do we get to our big dream?
Yeah, how do you?
What are the things? Well, let me tell you my inspirational story from the front of the book.
Okay.
Our son went to China many years ago and hauled camera equipment up the backside of a mountain, a huge mountain, because he had a dream of getting this most fabulous picture when he got to the top. He's a photographer, and so he had this dream. He climbs the mountain for a full day and gets to a monastery at the end of the day, and they invite him in to stay all night. But they're in silence, so they couldn't tell him what was ahead. So he goes the rest of the journey the next day, and he gets to the top, and a bus goes by. And he said, there was a road up here. I could have taken a bus. And in that, I say, this is where I lead into my book, is I want to help you find your dreams, live your dreams, and I'm the bus to help you get there, a little easier journey, so you don't have to climb the back of a mountain to get there.
Yeah, that's good advice. I always say it helps to get help.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I've been doing this for almost 40 years.
Yeah.
Almost 40 years. Wow. And I knew I had the opportunity to share with men the way to establish this sense of accomplishment and to reach their dreams in their health, their wealth, their relationships, and by all means, I feel like I'm somewhat of an expert, 52 years with my wonderful guy.
And has there been a transformation with your husband?
My husband didn't need to be transformed. He's been my hero all along.
That's
he really
wonderful.
is. But,
great.
People ask why a woman wrote a book for men. And we have 7 grandchildren, and we have 3 children. Well, 2 of our children are guys, and 5 of our grandchildren are guys. So it made sense to write a book for men and leave this legacy for my own men in my life. However, I did get to interview 12 amazing men across the United States. I got to go to Wall Street and interview a man there that was the vice president of Deutsche Bank. The Pentagon. I've been all over to these wonderful places to share this
And what
inspiration.
kind of questions were you asking them in the interviews?
So I started off with what is the expectation in your industry for success, because it's about how do we create success. And these men were all willing to pay it forward by turning around and helping somebody else be successful. So the questions started off being on what's the professional image that you need to project, team playing, leadership, but it got deeper into character and the things that were really from their hearts, and they moved me so much. These men were so transparent to share, and their wisdom is throughout the book.
So is that why you chose these men, because you thought...
I didn't choose them. They showed up.
Oh.
They did. Can I just share what happens when you say yes to something that's in line with your purpose? A man was interviewing me, and he said, you need to write a book. And I said, I could do that for women. He said, no, you need to do it for us. And I said, okay. Walked away scratching my head wondering, why did I say yes to that? And then 2 weeks later, the title showed up. 2 weeks later, I meet this man on the way to New York that I was able to interview, my first interview on Wall Street. Wow. So I just believe that the rest of them showed up because I was working within my purpose.
Right. You focused and you had intention, and the universe kind of brought the cooperative components together.
Oh, my goodness, yes. Oh, my goodness, yes. And it was an exciting journey. It was very empowering to me, too. So... And
maybe law of attraction at work.
Maybe, I don't know, but it was a great journey, and I loved interviewing the men. And I'm going to have a radio show coming up. I'm going to start with them, interviewing them again. So.
Good. Well, so we've got 3 inspiring women here, all talking about slightly different aspects of the same thing, of how you can create a better life for yourself. And so let's take a break, and when we come back, we're going to go into a little bit more depth about the how-tos and where can we start. Okay, we're going to get some simple tips. So stay tuned to the Book Beat. This is LA Talk Live, where we're more than just talk.
Hands can do incredible things. They made every sound in this piece of music. But nothing compares to using them to help save a life. If an adult suddenly collapses, call 911, then push hard and fast in the center of their chest until help arrives. It's called hands-only CPR, and it's recommended by the American Heart Association. Visit handsonlycpr.org today. A message from the American Heart Association and the Ad Council.
Hey everybody, it's Miss R&B, and I'm inviting you to come and hang with me every Thursday night at 9 p.m. PST for Perspectives Corner with Rona Roe Bennett on America Talk Live. Hear and see interviews and live performances from some of our favorite celebrities and personalities in entertainment, sports, business, and the wellness industries. We're getting lifted and we're going deep, talking about life and empowering the champion in us all. See you there.
Hi, welcome back to the Book Beat. I'm Jean-Noel Bassior, and we've got our 3 studio guests here with us. We've got Susie Augustin, Kim Summers Egelsee, and Claudia Cooley. I hope I pronounced that right. Kim Summers Egelsee? Summers, okay. So we've heard about your individual books, and this is archived, folks. If you missed the first part of the show, just at LA Talk Live, you can always look up our shows. But I want to throw some questions. Y'all gave us great questions. I want to throw some out to you, and just feel free to kick it around a bit, okay? So let's say we know we have people listening. They want to make their lives better. And we got to start somewhere, and it may not be with a really big thing. But I want to throw out to you the question is, what is your simplest tip? What is something someone could do right now, just a little thing maybe, that would make their life just a little bit better by tomorrow? Or by next week.
I know that for sure that this works is change your communication, and I'm certified in NLP, and that's basically neuro-linguistic programming,
powerful.
brain language programming. Tony Robbins is famous for using that. And one of the most powerful things you can do with NLP is change your communication and be aware of what you're saying to yourself and to others. So, for example, if you're constantly saying, I'm anxious or I'm stressed, you can switch that and say, I'm anticipating amazing things, or I'm challenging myself to be even greater.
Now, what about I was working with somebody with NLP recently. What about, I used to be anxious and stressed, but I'm looking forward to being, or does that work? Or is
I think that you have to be careful how you word it. If you say, I'm moving towards being, or it's better to say I am, even if you're not, because then you're training your mind. If you say I used to be, you're still focusing on what was, and that's a low energy, and it may keep that stuck to you. And so basically talking to where you want to be. I'm challenging myself to be even greater. What that does is it actually shifts your brain, it shifts your physiology, and it even changes your breathing, and you're able to look at the situation differently. I'm in demand instead of I'm overwhelmed. I'm fascinated instead of I'm frustrated. You're able to look at something differently.
So look at the opposite of that thing you're feeling?
Basically, you have to find words that work for you, but one of the most popular ones I hear is I'm in demand instead of I'm overwhelmed, because it automatically makes you realize, okay, well, I'm blessed to be able to be even working or even having a home to live in, and people need me, and I am able to live this beautiful life, so I have to pay bills, but hey, I'm in demand.
I see. Very subtle change of language. So change your language, right?
Yes, it definitely. I mean, even if you just use those 4 that I just said, it will change your life in 2 weeks. You'll see a difference.
Wow, that's really great. And Susie, what about you?
Well, as Kim spoke up, I was about to say too, practicing gratitude. So it's in alignment with what she's saying. And in Sexy, Fit, and Fab at Any Age, the very first key, there's 8 keys. And spirit is the first one. And I talk about practicing gratitude. And actually, I journal every morning. And part of that, sometimes it can be venting. It can be writing out your to-do list for the day. But I also write things that I'm grateful for.
Now, why do you think that gratitude is so powerful? What is it about it?
Well, I found that when I started practicing it, my life turned around. So instead of thinking of, I had a car that was totaled, and I had been in a car wreck, but I didn't have a new car yet. So at first it was just like, it was an embarrassment, and I had to drive in the slow lane. And then it was like, I'm grateful to have this car. And so I felt empowered. And then I visualized the car that I wanted. And then that came along, and then I visualized the next car that I wanted, and that came along. So it's just changing your attitude towards things and adding a lot of visualization, I would say too. Sometimes you even have to talk your way out of how you really feel. Sometimes we're so down in the dumps, and you feel like everything's going wrong in your life, but you can't stay there. So you just have to pull yourself back up, and even if it's just, what? I love my dresses and my wardrobe. And you start wearing those dresses, and you start thinking of different things that you are grateful for. And then it changes in your mind, and then you can't stay in the dumps.
So is this sort of like the act as if kind of technique?
Part of it is the act as if also, yes.
So when you stop focusing, are you saying like when you stop focusing on, say, that the car's falling apart, and I guess you'd say, like, I've got so many places to be because I'm so in demand, right?
Yeah, exactly.
More positive attitude.
You just get there a little bit slower, but you get there.
Yeah, but I've got all these places to be. And then that seems like that opens the door for your then thinking like, gee, it would be nice if I maybe had a better car, or how would you then take that leap to the...
Part of it is that the fact that the car wasn't great, you just stop thinking about that.
Yeah. So then you start thinking
and then
about
you start setting goals, and your life just changes when you get out of being in the dumps and that type of mindset. And you take care of your mind, you take care of, you start taking care of your body better.
So it's really changing your mindset, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's all about what we're thinking.
And then you just start exuding something different. Happiness. You start laughing more.
Which you do, by the way.
Around you.
Yeah, she does. You really do. Did you hold your book up to the camera yet? Just let us see it. Okay, there's a camera here and a camera there. Good. And Claudia, what can we do now? What's the real small thing we can do now?
Well, I don't know how small it is, but I think most of us stop dreaming, or we get so busy with life and the demands of our life and being responsible that we stop dreaming. So I find it very powerful to build a dream board or a vision board, and I find even my men clients really love this project, and it opens up some new things for them. With the vision board, you're putting things on there that you love.
Now these are pictures, right?
They're pictures.
Photos.
They can be pictures. I just recently had a gentleman do it all in word form. He created 7 or 11 different areas of his life he wanted to see things grow in and become to the next level. But pictures I like because I'm a visual myself, and you create this through things you love. No picture should go on there that you like. It has to be you love it.
Now, can you do this online, or should you do it?
You can pull pictures off of online, or you can do
But I mean,
magazines.
you're talking about actually, should we do the old vision board thing where we
Yes.
actually get a piece of
Yes,
styrofoam?
and you know why? Because then you put it up around you. And I did my first one in the late 70s, and by the end of probably by 86, everything on that board was in my life.
Wow.
Except for one blouse. And I was speaking in front of a group of, a large group, about 800 people, and they came up at the end, and I showed them my board and how that one blouse had never showed up, but how everything else had. And then the people came to the front of the stage afterwards to talk to me, and this one lady held back, and then she came up and took her turn, and she said, I just have to tell you, I'm the designer of that blouse, and I'm analyzing your size, and I'm going to have that sent to you.
Oh, my goodness.
So, I think when you do put it out there, it goes back to showing up.
That's
and
an amazing story.
So I think when we get back to dreaming and allow ourselves to dream, it opens up our channels for a lot of things, because it opens up doors to allowing things back in our life that maybe we have set aside and we aren't doing, that were really part of who we're meant to be.
Well, I'm a big believer. I study Abraham Hicks a lot, and I'm a big believer that we create it first in our thoughts, and then we realize it by making it real. It has to. I mean, it becomes real, and that's realizing it when the things exist first in a vibrational reality, which sounds like.
And it's a fun project. It really is fun. So why not have fun while you're learning about your own life and putting it together?
Right, having fun while you're doing it, and not just waiting to have fun when it shows up, right? Now, I guess you must have had, if you had a blouse on this vision board, did you have like big things and small things?
I had everything. Actually, in all truth, I had Tom Selleck on my dream board.
Now, did he show up? I have to
Actually, in a way, he did, because Dale was living in California and I was in Oregon because he was down here for a job. And when I saw him the next time, he had the Tom Selleck mustache. So, yes, I hadn't got my own Tom Selleck.
So Dale channeled Tom Selleck.
He did. It was wonderful. But the thing is, I had everything from travel, cars, furniture, jewelry, people, sayings, even words that inspired me. I had dishes, I had food, beautiful food. I had everything on there. And it's just the things that when I saw the picture, I go, oh, I love that. And I wasn't a dreamer. I had always lived very practically, because my father died when I was young, and I had to be responsible.
So what made you want to become a dreamer?
Well, actually, it started off because I was teaching how to create your wardrobe, develop your own style, to a group of women. And they said, how do I find my style? And I said, I don't know. Let me work on that. And so I set out to figure a way, and I just decided to do the dream boards, and I analyzed them and helped them find their style. Then when I went later on in my life into some interior design, I have a degree in that too, I did that for interior design. So it works in all areas, and then it works for just bringing your life, your business, whatever, up to that 10 plus that Kim talks about. So
now, you all three strike me as people that have found your passion and your purpose, and so for a lot of people listening that feel that they're maybe doing something that is not in line with their passion and purpose, but they want to kind of start moving towards that, can we give them some tips for that? What would be something that they could start that would put them on that path?
They can even start small. And if they feel like they don't have a lot of time, or if they feel like they're not qualified for whatever their passion is, they can start donating some of their time. If there's a boys club, or somewhere where they feel like their talents or what they want to pursue can be put into action. That's a nice way for people to appreciate what they're doing, and then they start to really feel it even more.
Or like even take a class or something, maybe? Or I mean, I know that sounds like take a class, but I mean, like maybe start dreaming about taking a class, or because a lot of times we go like, well, I should do it, but we don't have time to do it. But like, are you saying like just really start thinking about it, and then maybe you'll take a step towards it?
I write and I draw pictures too. So that's kind of like, as things start to happen for me, I write about it, I draw little pictures, and then I start getting involved, and then I see, the right people coming along. And things unfold.
So in your journal, and you're kind of carrying that with you, kind of, is that?
Oh, I don't. You mean carry it with me all day? No.
Some people do.
But
In your heart.
In my heart, yes.
Right. So and
I have three.
Yes.
I have 3 tips I give people. Like, if you want quick tips, number 1, ask 10 people close to you for feedback of what they see in you, what gifts do they see in you, what talents do they see in you, because most of the time people are going to see the gifts in you that you don't see in yourself, and you're going to go, aha. That's what I'm good at, and you might have a breakthrough that way. Number 2, to think about from when you were a baby until now, what were things you got an award in? What were you good at? What did you love to do? Maybe there's something that correlates with that feedback that you can turn into a career and find your purpose and your passion. And my mind just blanked on the third one.
Well, and I've heard that is very powerful, to go back into your childhood and think, what did I really used to enjoy, or what did I think I was going to become when I grew up, right? And reconnect with that. Is that kind of what you were saying?
Definitely, yeah. Because a lot of times people will say, well, I just loved painting, but I could never do that. I mean, and then that happened to me. I was doing oracle card readings and was very good at it, and life coaching, and I thought, oh, this is a hobby, and I've been doing it for almost 10 years now, and I used to think it was just a hobby, and it has turned into speaking, and all the stuff I was doing came into full force of what I'm doing now. And so you never know.
And I used to always love to stand up and speak or teach anybody that was sitting down. So I became a teacher, and I did that for 22 years. But when I was a little girl, I was an entrepreneur by the time I was 4. And so it just made sense for me to always have a
now,
business.
what were you doing at the age of 4?
Actually, what I did was I was already practicing some marketing skills, and that was I would go to the neighbors and I would take orders. I didn't go pick walnuts and deliver them. I went and took orders. And
orders for walnuts?
Walnuts. And there was a walnut grove across the street. I would go drag my gunny sack behind me, pick up the walnuts to fill those orders, and then I would decorate the bags with ribbons and Crayola paintings and deliver them. And, I was already doing some marketing at that age. And what did I end up teaching? Marketing. But it was, what I wanted to say, too, was that if you do look at what you did when you were little and young and you really loved, it probably shows up. And at 71, as I look back over my life, I can see all those things, how they played in. So I just want to promise people, if you stay in the game full force, both feet, it all comes together. It's puzzle pieces coming together, and you are the perfect piece for that puzzle. So don't worry about it. Just follow your passion, what you love to do, and the things that you love to do, those are probably your purpose. And this is my one tip. Stand in front of the mirror and the first thing in the morning and give yourself this great big Cheshire grin. And how can you not have a wonderful day the rest of the day?
Wow, totally. Smile first thing in the morning. What a concept.
Totally.
So want to know how to get in touch with all 3 of you. So why don't you let's start with you, Claudia, and give us your website and the title of your book again, in case we want to get that.
The title of the book is From Dud to Stud, Revving Up for Success, and my website is ClaudiaCooley.com. It's pretty easy.
Is that the best way to contact you, or is there email or anything else?
An email would be info@ClaudiaCooley.com.
Okay.
If you can remember my name, you can find me anywhere.
Yeah.
Facebook too, and Twitter also.
It's an easy name
you
to
can
remember.
Find me there, and soon I'll have a radio show that'll follow the Revving Up for Success. RevUpForSuccessRadio.com.
Okay, great. And Susie?
Susie Augustin. Sexy Fit and Fab at any age, and my website is sexyfitfab.com. And when they go on there, they'll be able to send me an email, and then also to look out for Kim and I will be teaching a book writing workshop coming this September, and so just everything from A to Z to get started with writing your own book.
Oh, great. Okay, very good.
And I remembered the third tip. It was very simple.
Good, yes.
It was so simple, I forgot.
What happened.
No, it was just to work on yourself. People get worried they don't know their purpose, and I say just keep working on yourself, and you'll find it'll come to you if you keep reading the books and going to the seminars and talking to positive people.
So do the self-help thing, and it will kick in eventually.
It definitely does. Getting your life to a 10+, and it's kimlifecoach.com. So just kimlifecoach.com, and you can contact me through there.
Great. Well, this has been wonderful. You've all been amazing, extraordinary guests, and you are living what you teach, what you write about, and that is a joy to see. It really is.
Thank you
Thank
so
you
much.
for having us.
It was very fun.
It was fun.
Thank you. So next week, we are going to have our guest expert for anybody who wants to publish a book. We're going to have John Lowe on. And he is a book formatter. If you want to do an ebook, this guy knows everything. He can unravel this very complicated world of how to format an ebook. It's a place where a lot of people get stuck. And we're going to have Lane Wong on. She is the author of a novel called Shanghai Love. A very interesting novel, takes place in Japan, I believe, and it is about a woman who meets somebody from Nazi Germany. It's a very unlikely love story. It's tell you more about it next week, but this novel is getting wonderful reviews on Amazon. It's been called Beautifully Written. And Marcy Javril, and she's the author of Feel Like Yourself Again, Heal and Recover from Injury, Surgery, and Illness. And I've seen Marcy's book, and this is just an amazing compendium of health tips that you can really do yourself at home and how to take care of yourself better. So looking forward to that. This has been The Book Beat. I'm Jean-Noel Bassior. This is LA Talk Live, where we're more than just talk.
You are now tuned into LA Talk Live. We're more than just talk. Don't go anywhere. Stay tuned.
Are you ready to